Historically, host nations in these massive global football tournaments, they all share this one fatal flaw.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the home crowd demands that they attack, and smart opponents use that exact desperation to just completely destroy them.
Yeah, it's the classic trap.
It is. So welcome to today's deep dive. The date is June 12th, 2026. World Cup fever is, well, it's officially in full swing. And today we have a very specific mission for you listening.
We do.
We are going to equip you with absolutely everything you need to understand the underlying chess matches happening ahead of two massive games today, featuring our North American host nations.
Because today, both the USA and Canada are, they're basically walking right into that historical trap you just mentioned.
Exactly. And we're going to look at how they plan to survive it. Looking at the source material we've gathered, there's a fascinating thematic through line here. It's like a cinematic double feature, but with completely different genres.
Right. The first match is this high-speed action thriller, and the second is a really tense psychological chess match.
Yeah, but both host nations are stepping onto home soil, carrying the crushing weight of massive expectations. So naturally, they're going to try to play highly aggressive attacking football.
Which is, the double-edged sword of hosting a tournament.
For sure.
The tension we see in the tactical breakdowns today comes directly from the opponents they're facing. Both international squads stepping into these host stadiums are specifically designed to absorb intense pressure.
They want the pressure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They are mathematically engineered to soak up possession, let the host nation overcommit, and then strike back ruthlessly on the counterattack.
It's so dangerous.
It is. But what makes this deep dive so compelling is that we're looking at the classic unstoppable force meeting the immovable object scenario, right? But it's playing out through two entirely different tactical philosophies today.
Right, because Canada is going to try to shatter the immovable object with sheer velocity.
Yes.
While the United States has to solve this really complex topological puzzle to dismantle it piece by piece.
That's a great way to put it.
So let's start with that velocity. We are looking at Group B action happening up north at BMO Field in Toronto. Canada is taking on Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Gonna be a loud one.
Oh, deafening. Kickoff is at 3:00 p.m. Eastern Time, which, for our global listeners, means you're looking at around 12:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time on June 13th.
Right.
Now, diving into Canada's game plan, the sources emphasize a tactical system built almost entirely around high-pressing, really fast transitions and lightning-quick attacks down the wings.
Yeah, they want to turn a structured football match into an absolute track meet.
Totally. Heavily utilizing Alphonso Davies and Jonathan David.
Because when you look at the raw physical profile of that Canadian squad, playing a transition-heavy game is, well, it's their ultimate win condition.
Yeah.
Alphonso Davies, operating out wide, possesses the kind of elite world-class speed that fundamentally alters the geometry of the pitch.
Alters the geometry.
Yeah, and that isn't just a metaphor. Because Davies is so incredibly fast, opposing defensive lines are terrified of being beaten over the top.
Obviously, yeah.
So instinctively, the entire backline drops like 5 to 10 yards deeper than they normally would just to give themselves a head start in a foot race.
Oh, wow.
And those extra yards create a massive pocket of empty space in the midfield.
Okay, I see.
So even when Davies doesn't touch the ball, his sheer presence on the flank bends the opponent's defensive shape. It creates those critical half spaces for a player like Jonathan David to operate in.
Right. So Canada's goal is just pure verticality.
Exactly. The second they win possession, they do not want a slow, methodical buildup out of the back. They want the ball advanced into those spaces within 3 seconds, catching the opposing defense before they can reestablish their shape.
But wait, this is where I have to push back a little on Canada's game plan.
Okay, go for it.
Because if you look at how Bosnia and Herzegovina is setting up, this whole strategy seems, flawed, like the classic rope-a-dope tactic in boxing.
Oh, yeah.
Just absorbing a flurry of punches only to land a knockout blow. If Bosnia's entire game plan is to deploy a deep, compact defensive block,
which it is,
essentially just parking themselves inside their own penalty area, there's no space behind them to run into.
None.
So doesn't Canada's greatest weapon, that blinding speed, become completely useless if Bosnia refuses to give them any runway? How do they survive that without collapsing?
That is the exact tactical friction that makes this match so dangerous for Canada. Speed is only lethal if there's open grass to exploit.
Right.
Bosnia's specific response to the Canadian threat is just to refuse to be stretched.
So they just stay compact.
Yeah, they will condense the pitch, bringing their midfield line and their defensive line so close together that there are like barely 3 yards of space between them.
Wow, just a wall.
Basically, they aren't going to press Canada in the Canadian half. They're going to drop back and defend the space, not the individual players.
So they just take away the depth entirely.
Exactly. They neutralize the threat of the foot race. If Davies gets the ball on the wing, he isn't looking at an isolated fullback. He's looking at a wall of 3 defenders shifting over, using the sideline as an extra defender.
So if Canada's transition game gets choked out like that, how does Bosnia actually threaten?
Well,
Because sitting in a low block for 90 minutes while a desperate host nation throws just, waves of attacks at you, that sounds like a recipe for eventual collapse.
and that brings us to the counterpunch, which revolves completely around Aiden Dzeko.
The veteran.
Yeah. When Bosnia eventually intercepts a pass from an overextended Canadian midfield, they are not going to try to intricately pass their way through the center of the pitch.
No time for that.
Exactly. They're going to use direct vertical balls that completely bypass the midfield, specifically targeting Dzeko.
Oh, I love this contrast.
Right, it's brilliant. We're looking at the raw youth and physical speed of Canada against the veteran positioning and cognitive speed of Dzeko.
Because he's a master of hold-up play.
Exactly. He doesn't need to out-sprint the Canadian center backs. He just needs to read the trajectory of the clearance, put his body between the defender and the ball, and hold possession for, 3 seconds.
Just to let his team catch up.
Yes. Those 3 seconds allow the Bosnian midfield to sprint out of their low block and join the attack against a Canadian defense that has completely lost its structural integrity.
Wow. It really is a pure clash of physical speed versus cognitive speed. So, looking at the predictions from our sources, how does this actually play out over 90 minutes?
Well,
The consensus expects Canada to leverage their home field advantage and ultimately break through for a 2-1 victory. But based on what you just described, breaking down that Bosnian wall sounds incredibly difficult. Why are the sources so confident in Canada?
Well, the 2-1 prediction reflects the sheer psychological and physical toll of executing a flawless low block.
It's exhausting.
It is so exhausting. Defending without the ball for 70 or 80% of a match drains you. A compact defense requires absolute collective perfection.
Right. No room for error.
If just one Bosnian midfielder loses focus for a fraction of a second or, steps half a yard in the wrong direction, a gap opens up.
And players of Davies and Davis' caliber will instantly punish it.
Instantly. And the sources also factor in the reality of the home crowd at BMO Field.
It's going to be wild.
That relentless noise creates an intense psychological pressure cooker that often forces that single crucial mistake from a defending team late in the second half.
Makes sense.
It's likely Bosnia will find a moment on the counter through Dzeko, but Canada's sheer volume of attacking phases should statistically yield more breakthroughs over a full match.
Okay, so Canada's solution to a set defense is basically trying to generate enough pressure to force a structural collapse, just outrun them until they break.
Basically, yeah.
But what happens when the defense isn't just set, but is mathematically designed to neutralize the exact zones you want to attack?
That is a very different problem.
Right. And that is the puzzle the United States is facing today, which takes us to the second half of our tactical breakdown.
Let's do it.
So we're heading over to Group D action today.
All right.
The USA is taking on Paraguay at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, Los Angeles. Yeah. Kickoff is at 6:00 p.m. Pacific Time, which is 9:00 p.m. Eastern, or around 6:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time on June 13th.
Got it.
The sources emphatically label this the match to watch today because it is just this incredibly complex tactical clash.
It really is, because if Canada's challenge is finding space where there is none, the USA's challenge is figuring out what to do with all the space Paraguay is willingly handing over to them.
Interesting.
The tactical setups here are just fascinating. The USA is going to utilize their standard 4-3-3 shape, and their strategy is built on aggressive pressing, rapid ball circulation, and dominating possession.
Right, featuring guys like Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie.
Exactly. They want to dictate the tempo and suffocate Paraguay in their own half, but Paraguay is deploying a classic flat 4-4-2 deep block.
Very old school.
Very. 2 rigid lines of 4 players sitting incredibly deep, essentially conceding possession in the middle third of the pitch to draw the USA forward.
Right, and they're looking to launch devastating counterattacks through their key player, Miguel Almiron.
You got it.
I was reading through the mechanics of that 4-4-2 block, and I want to share this analogy to see how it aligns with the data.
Let's hear it.
Paraguay's setup sounds a lot like a heavily fortified castle with a sniper in the tower, or like a giant, heavily woven net.
Okay, I like the net analogy.
Right. If the USA tries to just punch straight through the middle of it, the net just flexes, absorbs the kinetic energy, and tangles them up in this brutal physical midfield battle.
Yeah, you can't go through the middle.
The only way to actually beat a net like that isn't to hit it harder. It's to stretch it from the absolute outer edges until the holes in the middle finally tear wide open.
That's spot on.
But waiting for the USA to get tangled in that net is Miguel Almiron, right? Like the sniper waiting to exploit the exact moment the Americans lose the ball.
That is a highly accurate way to visualize the mechanics of a deep block. A well-drilled 4-4-2 doesn't try to win the ball back in dangerous areas. Yeah. No, it forces the attacking team to pass the ball into areas that are statistically harmless. They create extreme defensive density in the center of the pitch, effectively forcing all the USA's possession out to the wings.
Which brings up a massive pushback regarding the USA's strategy. Because the sources state the USA plans to use an aggressive press. But if you're aggressively pressing a team that literally wants you to press them,
right,
like a team that is begging you to commit bodies forward so they can counterattack, aren't you just walking into the trap?
Yeah, it's risky.
If the USA pushes their midfield high to press that net, aren't they leaving their center backs completely isolated against a player as lethal as Almiron?
Your concern hits on the single biggest vulnerability in modern possession-based football. Against a deep 4-4-2 block, having the ball is actually a liability if you don't know what to do with it.
Wow, really?
Yeah, this leads to a phenomenon often called sterile possession or horseshoe passing.
Horseshoe pass.
Yeah, so what happens is the USA center backs get the ball, look up, and see 8 Paraguayan players clogging the center. Terrified of losing the ball in that central meat grinder and triggering an Almiron counterattack, the USA passes it safely out to the left wing.
Okay.
The left winger sees no options, so he passes it safely back to the center backs, who swing it over to the right wing.
Taking a giant U-shape.
Exactly. You end up with the USA holding 75% possession, but the ball is just traveling in a giant U-shape around the perimeter of the Paraguayan defense.
Oh, man.
It looks like dominance on a stat sheet, but in reality, Paraguay is perfectly comfortable just resting their legs and waiting for the USA to make a lazy pass.
Okay, so how do you actually stretch the net to create those tiers in the middle without exposing yourself to the counter? The sources point heavily to Christian Pulisic operating on the right side.
They do.
Why is that specific matchup the key to breaking the horseshoe?
It comes down to the mechanics of lateral shifting. A 4-4-2 deep block survives by moving as a single connected unit. As the ball moves from the left side of the pitch to the right side, all 8 Paraguayan defenders and midfielders have to shuffle sideways in unison to close down the passing lanes.
Like foosball players on a rod.
Exactly. So the USA's goal is to circulate the ball faster than human beings can physically run sideways.
Okay, I see.
If the USA can execute rapid one-touch passing to swing the ball violently from the left side all the way over to Pulisic on the right wing, they create a momentary tactical crisis for Paraguay.
Because Pulisic receives the ball before the rest of the net has time to shift over and support the left back.
Exactly, the mechanism. Pulisic finds himself in an isolated one-on-one situation.
And he's lethal there.
Oh, absolutely. He has the elite technical dribbling ability to beat that defender before the cover arrives. If he drives toward the end line or cuts inside, another Paraguayan defender is forced to abandon their structural position to stop him.
And the moment that second defender steps out of line,
the net tears. A gap appears in the penalty area, and that is where the USA has to strike. It is a game of fractional seconds.
And Weston McKennie's role in the midfield seems crucial here, right? Yeah. Not necessarily for the passing, but for the dirty work required to maintain that pressure.
Oh, essential.
He has to win the physical battles to ensure the ball gets to Pulisic, but more importantly, when the USA inevitably does lose the ball, he is the one who has to instantly counterpress to stop Paraguay from launching that pass to Almiron.
Yeah, McKennie is the structural safety net for the USA. When you're committing your wingers and your fullbacks high up the pitch to stretch the opponent, your central midfielders have to do the work of 4 players.
Wow.
McKennie has to read the play, anticipate where the clearances are going to fall, and win those second balls.
It's nonstop.
If he can repeatedly win the ball back within 2 seconds of the USA losing it, he traps Paraguay inside their own penalty area. They never get to breathe, they never get to counter, and eventually the sheer physical exhaustion of defending without an outlet leads to the mistake that Pulisic can capitalize on.
So looking at the verdict for this highly tactical chess match, the sources are predicting a 2-0 victory for the United States.
Yeah, that's the consensus.
They expect the Americans to dictate the flow of a game and maintain enough discipline to avoid the counterattack traps. But, I mean, a 2-0 result against a disciplined 4-4-2 sounds like it requires an immense amount of patience.
Oh, it really does.
This isn't going to be a blowout in the first 20 minutes.
Not at all. The anatomy of a 2-0 win against a low block usually involves a highly frustrating first half.
Right. Lots of passing around the perimeter.
Exactly. The USA might go into the locker room at 0-0 despite having 80% possession. The critical test is psychological resilience.
They can't panic.
No, they cannot abandon their structure and start taking wild, low-percentage shots from 30 yards out just because the crowd is getting anxious.
Which the crowd definitely will.
Oh, for sure. But if they stick to the plan, stretching the net, forcing the lateral shifts, the breakthrough usually comes around the 65th or 70th minute as fatigue sets in for Paraguay.
And then the floodgates open.
Pretty much. Once the USA scores that first goal, the entire dynamic of the match flips. Paraguay is forced to abandon their deep block and push forward to chase an equalizer.
Which immediately opens up massive tracts of space for the USA to exploit.
Exactly, usually leading to that second goal late in the game.
All right, let's pull all of this together and look at the broader picture for you, the listener, as you prepare for match day. Today is just a monumental test of identity for both of these North American host nations.
It really is a massive day.
On paper, and according to the predictive models in our sources, both Canada and the United States are favored to walk away with victories, 2-1 and 2-0, respectively.
Yep.
They both have the advantage of playing on home soil. They possess the superior attacking talent, and they have clear intentions to dictate the terms of engagement.
Yet, to secure those points, they have to survive two distinct, highly lethal defensive traps. Canada has to find a way to utilize their blistering transition speed against a Bosnian team that will actively deny them the space to run, all while guarding against Edin Dzeko's veteran ability to orchestrate counterattacks out of thin air.
Yeah, they must avoid the frustration of hammering away at a brick wall and leaving themselves exposed at the back.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, the USA has to solve the maddening topological puzzle of Paraguay's 4-4-2 net. They have to resist the temptation of sterile possession, relying on rapid ball movement and Christian Pulisic's isolation on the wing to stretch the defense to its breaking point.
And while Weston McKennie works tirelessly to ensure Miguel Almiron doesn't steal the game against the run of play.
It's really two entirely different approaches to breaking down an opponent who refuses to play on your terms.
It highlights the beautiful complexity of international football. A team can have all the possession and all the attacking intent, but if they lack the precise mechanical tools to dismantle a set defense, all that dominance is essentially an illusion.
Which brings me to a final underlying question I want you, the listener, to keep in the back of your mind as you watch these two matches unfold today.
It's a big one.
We have spent this deep dive detailing how Canada and the USA are heavily relying on the modern tactical meta. Aggressive, high-pressing, overwhelming possession, and dynamic wing play.
Very modern.
Right. And they are attempting to execute this against teams that are utilizing incredibly old-school, disciplined, physical blocks.
Very true.
So if we reach the end of the day and either of these host nations fail to break through, like if Canada's high-speed thriller gets bogged down in the mud, or if the United States gets hopelessly tangled in the Paraguayan net and picked off by the sniper on the counterattack.
Despite having the home crowd and the vast majority of the ball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Does it expose a fundamental, fatal vulnerability in this modern era of possession-heavy football?
That is the million-dollar question.
When the pressure is at its absolute highest and the margins are razor thin, does the old-school, immovable physical block actually hold the ultimate trump card over the beautiful game?
We'll have to see.
Keep a close eye on the pitch today, because we are about to find out exactly what happens when the unstoppable force runs out of ideas.